fuck going on, Whalers?
GCI, and I should go phone. Rather die than my bitch to the tone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Follow Through. It is not Education Street, it is the pit stop. And what is the pit stop? It's the area of the racetrack we all come to at the end of our session where we just get to shoot the shit and have some fun. So, on this episode of the pit stop, we are in a brand new 2020 Taycan Turbo, not the S, because everyone's driven that car or they've driven the 4S. No one's given the middle child an opportunity or a proper chance. I think one group has, but not a lot of attention has been given to the Taycan Turbo. So we all know the basic stats. When you're normal driving, 617 horsepower. With launch control, you're getting 671. 0 to 60 will make it feel like your kidneys are going through your lungs. Okay, straight right through your throat. The interior in this car is spectacular. Now, I know a couple people have kind of complained, particularly some Lambo drivers, and we're not going to name them. Screw it, we will. Yemi from the UK, we think he got a great personality, but come on, man. What is this horseshit that the car is not flashy enough for you? Are you kidding me? Wherever we've gone, people have stopped us. They're literally hanging out the windows, trying to take photos of the car. I've had two women, and you can ask my wife, okay, I've had two women come up to me where the first initial offer was they wanted to give me a blowjob while I'm driving, and then the sister corrected the younger sister and said, no, she's I want to fuck him while he's driving the car. So when you're getting responses like that, the flashiness factor, it's up there, people. It's beyond a Lambo when you're getting that type of response, okay? So this car is awesome. It's really, in my opinion, revolutionized the EV game, and I've never been a fan of Teslas. I've always thought they've had amazing performance, but they never felt like cars to me. It felt like Tesla was made for people who hate driving cars, and it doesn't matter if it was a Model 3, Model X, Model S. The cars just felt very plasticky inside. I didn't like the chairs because they always feel like they're designed for people who are 300 pounds because the chairs look like lazy boys. And they feel like giant iPhones. Like if you wanted a disposable car, that's the car to get. It's like an iPhone. You want to upgrade it every 2 or 3 years. That's the car. But then it kind of is counterproductive in terms of saving the environment, right? Anyways, that's a whole different topic. But the performance of those cars is always great, but I always felt there was something lacking in terms of it feeling like a car. Now, Porsche stepped up the game. They have introduced us a car that feels like a Porsche. If you were to blindfold me and put me in this car, I would have thought I'm in a Panamera. The steering is wonderful. It is very Porsche-esque. The drive, the feel, everything to the car feels like a Porsche. Now, let's go for a little bit of a spin. This Taycan Turbo comes with the Oleo leather. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And if I'm not, please be kind enough to just tell me how it's pronounced. Don't butcher me. We are adults here. We love the interior on this. If you don't get the Oleo, don't worry. It's not going to make it or break it for you. But if you are getting a 4S, get the more expensive seats, get the upgraded sport seats that come in this car, that come in the Taycan Turbo and the Turbo S. You will thank me later. And also get the optional suspension that comes with these cars because you'll thank me later. Now, the dilemma is at some point, when you start speccing out your 4S, you might as well just get this car. Your monthly payments are not going to be that far off. They're going to be in the same ballpark, respectively. So some cool things about this car that we all know about. It is lightning fast. Now, you have 3 drive modes. You have normal, sport, and sport plus. Okay? For everyday driving, honestly, I think normal and sport are going to suffice. If you're doing a very long trip, I do recommend just keeping it in normal. And if you want to just embarrass the shit out of people, put it in Sport Plus, and people will literally go home feeling depressed, and they'll probably hit up at Dear Lazy K for some mental health therapy, because it'll fly. Now, one thing you can't get away with, and Porsche's done an amazing job of masking this issue in this car, is the weight of EVs. They are all heavy. They've done an amazing job with this suspension in the Taycan Turbo and in the Taycans. You don't feel necessarily like it's a 5,000 pound car until you start pushing it, but they've done really a great job in making it feel lighter than what it is. You feel the weight, but it's not as bad as other EVs. So I think in the future, they're going to have to try to figure out a way to get these cars under 6,000 pounds, preferably, in that 4,500 pound range. It's going to make them a lot more fun. Looks wise, this thing is just sex on wheels, okay? This particular car has the Stormtrooper effect, so it's, it's essentially black and white, white on the outside, black on the inside. Get the Machine wheels. Don't opt for the uglier wheel sets. I know some people like them, but really the Machine wheels, I think, get the car more character. We sometimes like to refer to the car as R2-D2 because it makes funny little noises. So stylistically, it's sexy. Most EV cars, they look quite hideous, and Porsche has stepped up and really made a car that is just so freaking attractive to the point where people want to have sex with you while you're driving it, which might sound like a great thing to attempt. I think Tesla people are in shock. I think they feel threatened, and their little egos will always show it. And if you drive a Taycan, your biggest problem in everyday driving is, you're gonna have people in like Dodge Challengers and whatnot because they don't know what this car is for the most part. They always want to race you, and they get really depressed when you kill them. B, the Tesla fanboys who've been sucking Elon's shillelagh are in utter denial of how amazing this car is. Now, the problem with Tesla fanboys is they're always going to want to race you because their egos are just being smashed every time they see one of these vehicles. But the thing they don't understand is when you strap on 600 plus horsepower to anything, it's going to fly. I mean, if you're driving on the highway, right, it doesn't matter if you're in this or a Model S, no one's going to beat one another per se. Like, the way you're beating them is who's getting off the line quicker or who's getting to the punch quicker on the accelerator. Off the line, once again, like, you have very identical numbers, and it's because, dude, you put 600 plus horsepower in anything, it'll move. Look at a Lamborghini Urus. It has 641 horsepower. It's close to 6,000 pounds. It's giving you 0 to 60 times between 2.9 to 3.1. So I'm just trying to prove a point here. It's not, going fast is not a big metric anymore. Like, everyone is doing it. But where this thing will shine and where Tesla will not is when you take this thing to the canyons. You're going to have a lot of fun. Put it in the sport setting, or if you want, put the suspension in Sport Plus if it's a good road, and you are going to enjoy the shit when you drive this car. It is going to make you smile in ways that most EVs don't. And between the braking and the handling, the car is superbly fun for a weekend drive or even just a weekday drive on a nice twisty road. Okay. You're going to love it. You're going to love the way Porsche designed the suspension. I believe it's got this triple air suspension. It is some voodoo magic, okay? And the way the brakes work on this car are phenomenal. You get that Porsche precision, that Porsche stopping power. The steering is Porsche precision and Porsche stopping power. And excuse me while all these slow people get pulverized right now. But, when you're driving 19 miles an hour, why the fuck are you in a car? Please, just walk or get a scooter. Don't take up my highway. So this thing will really shine in the canyons. Things that I don't like about the car, well, there's not a whole lot. If I had to complain about one thing, it's the air conditioning vents. I don't like this whole electronic gizmo stuff because you have to go through the menu and then you got to play around the button. So it's quite annoying. I honestly just wish they would have kept the vents like they do in a GT3 or just a normal Porsche, where I can just grab it, touch it, have it blow a certain part of my body that I want, and that's it. So that's one complaint. if I had to make another complaint, it'd be the range. Now, it's really rated at 250. I don't know, if Elon Musk paid the EPA to like run their strictest EPA cycle where they got 201, but there's been a lot of independent testing showing that this car is getting between 250 to 300 miles. When we charge it on a full charge, we're getting between 250 to 262. Now, we have driven it where we are getting close. We have driven it where we have gone between 270 to 295. Okay, and that's because we keep fiddling with it between normal and sport. I think we just kept it in normal. We definitely get 295, 300. But when you drive the car, you begin to understand why Porsche sacrificed some range. And you see what they did was they sacrificed range in terms of creating better driving performance and driver dynamics. They sacrificed range to make a car that is that much more fun to drive. So even though you might not be getting 330 or 350 miles, it's okay, because it is such a blast to drive that it completely compensates for it and it makes up for it. And on the flip side, everyone should really know, don't fall for the hype of Tesla's range. We've driven a Model 3 long-range motor, the two-wheel drive, which they don't make anymore, and we do not get the 315 miles that it proclaims. Like, we've driven the same routes in this car and the Model 3, and I could tell you, for example, if we drive from Los Angeles to Orange County and back, the Model 3 has less than 100 miles, whereas in this car, we are between 100 to 120 miles. So, Tesla's range, while it looks great on paper, even the CEO of Lucid recently came out and said that they're not giving you an accurate range because they're getting an exemption from the EPA to run some weird cycle that no one uses, and it allows them to proclaim they have a longer range, but no one's going to drive their car at 45 miles an hour with everything off. That's just the reality, people. Sorry for the parking sensor there, but yeah, the car is a blast. There's something unique that Porsche's done. They created a special feeling in the car. Is EV and this car the answer to the future? The answer? No, it is not. When you take a place like California, they're trying to ban gas-powered cars within the next 15, 14 years, which I think is just complete bullshit. The last thing California needs to do is to pretend that it's some dictator emperor from China to tell us what we can, what we cannot do. They brainwash people thinking, if we ban all the gas-powered cars, that our environment's going to get better all of a sudden. No, it won't. Like Antarctica. No, people live there, and it's still being affected by global warming and climate change. So having government interfere with our daily lives is the last thing we need. No, what we need is more innovation. What we need is synthetic fuels that are carbon neutral, that don't produce more CO2 emissions into the atmosphere. Other fuels like E85 or possibly liquid hydrogen, which I think is going to really be the future. The reason why this thing is not the answer to the future, no EV car is because when you take California, we can't keep the lights on a hot summer day. Now, if every car is running electric, whatever goal they intended to offset their carbon emissions gets completely blown away by the fact that the electricity is coming from out of state, from greenhouse producing facilities. That's the truth. And on top of that, we just don't have the infrastructure to charge every car. You go to most Tesla charging stations, and people there are waiting for a long time. I've seen people wait anywhere up to an hour to charge their car. Who the fuck has that much free time to wait an hour to charge their car? The other dilemma is if you're trying to drive long distance or a lot in a day, you're going to get shafted. Whether it's the Model 3 or this car, if I'm driving more than 20 miles a day, I'm literally charging every 2 to 3 days. Compared to an F80 BMW M3 that I personally have, I can fill that up every 7 to 10 days depending how I drive. But on average, it's about every 7 days. I can really extend it that far. And I know there's a pumping station anywhere I want to get the fuel and move on to my day. Our editor has a Model 3, a brand new one. And he just went to Vegas recently, and it was a nightmare for him because he had to stop 4 times along the way to charge the car. So his trip, he told me, ended up being something like over 8 hours. On the way back, he had to charge about 3 times. So his trip was still much longer. So when you're trying to drive long distances, you're going to have issues with EV. On top of that, if you drive a lot, like for example, if I were to drive this car every day and I drive about 100 miles a day, like I said, whether it's this or a Model 3, I'm literally charging every 2 to 3 days. Now the thing is, if you charge in your house, a little FYI, our electric bill with this vehicle, while we've been testing it out, has shot up between $400 to $500 in the summer months, and now as we're approaching winter, it's going up between $300 to $400. So you're not saving all that much money. Yes, you might be getting a tariff, right, on your utility rate, but you still have this thing called a house that has other appliances, such as your AC, your water heater, and whatnot, right? And when you're running those, it's making your bill skyrocket. So whatever cost savings we would have had by getting this car and charging at home is completely offset by the fact that our utility bill is skyrocketing. So is it the answer? No, but is it part of an answer? Absolutely. I think having an EV is wonderful if you just need to make a quick trip and go somewhere. It's great. Like you're going like 50 miles. You don't want to turn on the M3 or the M5 or the GT2 RS in the garage or your SUV, and you just want to go pick up some food and come back. Wonderful choice, right? Now you're saving on gas. Do I think that this technology will trickle down into future GT cars from Porsche, especially the GT2 RS and the GT3 RS? Absolutely. I don't see how they're going to make those cars turbocharged when you can get the raw acceleration of a Taycan turbo with the benefits of a gas-powered car. That's going to be the future. That's really going to be the future of those super sports cars and those supercars out there, because you're going to get the best of both worlds now. Now you're going to get a car that's going to obliterate anything to 60 and then keep shooting forward because it has the gas benefits. One issue with EVs is when you race them in a straight line, they get this massive acceleration and then that tapers off, correct? In gas-powered cars, you don't get that. There's this constant, just bam, bam, like just this constant energy that keeps going until you hit towards the top end of the vehicle. So once again, is this the solution? No, but I think it is part of a solution to the future. And what that future is, I don't know. I think the car industry and the oil giants really got to consider synthetic fuels, alternative fuels. They got to, I think, for more high-performance cars like GT cars from Porsche, I think you're going to see this EV technology trickle down. You saw it in their 919 a Le Mans race car. So there's a lot of fun potential out there if governments don't fuck things up. And also, there's just one thing about EVs, even as wonderful as this car is, there's a lack of connection. Like when you drive an M3 manual, right? There's a joy. There is a mechanical connection to the human that you lack in an EV. Now, Porsche has done a great job in making you feel more connected with this vehicle, but when you drive other cars, other high-performance cars, there's more a bit of a soul in them. Now there is like a EV soul. I'm not dogging Porsche on that. They did do an amazing job of making this car feel more connected than any other EV out there. But having driven an F80 M3 like yesterday, and you come into this, the M3 just feels a little bit more special. You feel more connected. You know what it's like? It's like having virtual sex versus real sex. You get the end result, which is hopefully everyone is climaxing, right? But one has a better outcome than the other. One feels more special, okay? And that's what it's like. An EV is like virtual sex. And at the end of the day, we all want to have real sex, where it's more fun and enjoyable. And there's a little bit more passion involved and a little bit more intimacy. On that note, We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember, click a thumbs up, follow us on YouTube, follow our podcast on Anchor and Spotify, on Google, wherever you can find us. We'll have the link set up on Apple. Subscribe, tell your friends about us, your grandmothers, your mothers, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
What the fuck going on, Wheelers?
GGI, and I should go phone. Rather die than my bitch till it's tone.